In the country of Venezuela, its self-proclaimed socialist government has begun cracking down on political opponents, and it is starting to deny basic rights such as freedom of speech. This is predictable. History has proven that socialism as a whole does not work. In fact, variations of socialism, also known as communism, are responsible for killing more people than any other political system in history. To recap a few statistics, the so-called communist revolution in China caused the death of about 100 million people. In the former USSR, or in Russia when it was under communist rule, at least 55 million Russians were killed, as many as 75 million people total, much more than Adolf Hitler killed during World War II. Now what Venezuela is doing is launching pro-Hugo Chavez propaganda. They're releasing a film glorifying how great a leader he was, even though history has proven otherwise. While Chavez passed away a few years ago, Venezuela is still feeling the pain from his economic disaster policies. Runaway inflation has taken hold. People have taken to resorting to going through trash and garbage to go ahead and try to find food to eat. And they are even crossing borders to illegally smuggle in food and basic supplies because inflation is running at a rate of nearly 1,700% in socialist Venezuela. Now Venezuela and its government, determined to stay in power, despite the fact it claims to be a democracy, is now jailing political opposition and stifling freedom of speech. San Francisco quarterback Colin Kaepernick is refusing to stand during the playing of the United States national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, which goes ahead and plays, of course, before the beginning of various football games. He claims he's doing this in protest over rampant racism in the United States. He has claimed that police officers kill blacks and that the racism issue is out of control. He claims that blacks continue to be oppressed in what one might call white America. There's a problem with his views. They're not based on grounded reality. It is a fact that most black people, you can look this up in the statistics, and I hope Kaepernick one day bothers to do so. Most blacks are killed by blacks, period. Chicago, for example, which has some of the tightest gun control laws on the books in the United States, has been the murder capital of America for several years. Just recently, during 1 week alone, over 100 people were shot. While there are different explanations for black-on-black crimes, to blame most black shootings on white people is a blatant lie. Shame on him for not bothering to check facts and correct his behavior accordingly. His actions are, of course, causing a storm of protest, which is not going to endear him to 49er fans. The hacktivist site DC Leaks has been taken down, or at least parts of it, for reasons that remain unknown. Recently, DC Leaks published documents from the Soros Foundation where they proved that there was undue influence going on behalf of Hungarian billionaire George Soros. Among the memos that were leaked were emails and minutes from meetings which prove that the Soros Foundation spends millions of dollars trying to essentially buy off various politicians to go ahead and spread their agenda. Soros's organization has even called the recent crisis in Europe over the mismanagement of massive waves of immigrants coming from war-torn areas such as Syria, where more than 1.3 million people have been admitted. He has called that the new norm. Well, if chaotic immigration is the new norm, one speculates as to what would happen if it were properly managed. Anyway, the site is now down, the documents are no longer available online, and no explanation has been put forth yet by DC Leaks to explain it. Maybe this hacktivist website got hacked themselves, or maybe the Soros organization, because it's funded by a billionaire who thinks he has the right to buy influence and spread his view of the world around the world. He actually is quite a large donor to the Democratic Party in the United States of America. The Clintons, for example, have received a lot of money from Soros, as has the Obama campaign over the years. They just don't like to talk about it. Perhaps his organization served DC Leaks with a lawsuit or a order or cease and desist. Again, DC Leaks has yet to explain publicly why the documents have been pulled down. When you try to find them online, you simply get a message on your screen that says, "Bad gateway." In the Bay Area in San Francisco, don't be surprised on Sunday if you walk around and accidentally run across several women who have decided to go topless. These women are taking off their tops and showing their breasts because they're protesting what they call inequality as far as rights go between men and women. These women feel that if men can take their shirt off, they should have that right too. The leaders of this protest are part of a UFO cult from France who calls themselves the Realians. They believe in having sex with anybody, engage in a lot of it in fact, and their leader once used a symbol that involved the Jewish Star of David interwoven with a swastika, and he claims that he was abducted by aliens years ago, and that caused him to form this multi-million-dollar, very profitable cult. Yes, folks, you can't make this stuff up. There's one real problem with their protest, and it actually is the very idea behind it. It is not illegal for women to take off their tops and show their breasts in San Francisco. In fact, it is actually perfectly legal. So they're protesting in the wrong city over a cause that, well, is a bit questionable. But in San Francisco, there's no such ban, there's no such limitation. So what is their point? I guess you have to ask the aliens. The Stalinist communist country of North Korea is acting up again. It's very good at that. This time it's claiming that it can nuke the continental United States anytime it wants to. North Korea has made this claim for years. It doesn't scare or frighten anybody. As usual with North Korea, it likes to stir the stew pot and go ahead and act outrageously when it wants some attention. North Korea is still upset that the United Nations and the United States and other countries continue to impose sanctions against it for its rogue nuclear weapons program and the fact that it oppresses basic human rights. If you dare to exercise basic things like free speech in North Korea, it can get you killed and has been responsible for murdering thousands of people over the years, as well as starving North Koreans in general. They have gone through enormous, painful years and periods of famine and hunger because the communist government doesn't really care about its people. Instead, it cares about enriching its leadership and, of course, acquiring and building nuclear weapons where it can. China has helped it gain nuclear technology, as has the rogue regimes in Iran, Syria, and yes, even Pakistan. In the presidential race underway in the United States between Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump, in the past week or so, Trump has managed to erase 7 points, according to the polls, from Hillary's lead. The race is now effectively a tie.